Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share how my husband and I made this Christmas tree stand by recycling some leftover plywood from a bed frame. It's a 10-layer hexagonal shaped laminated plywood tree stand that might look complicated but is really not. Just some steps that you have to repeat a couple of times and you can make your own Christmas tree stand. Now without further ado, let's start creating. By using the Adobe Illustrator, we made our initial design. So we made the bottommost hexagon with a diameter of 36 inches. Next we copied the same hexagon and reduced its diameter to 17 inches, and this will be our topmost layer. We rotated the smaller hexagon by 90 degrees. By using the blending feature of Illustrator, we will set the number of layers that we want to create as 8, as we already have made the 2 layers out of 10. Next we will select both the hexagons, go back to the make option, and voila, you have this amazing pattern. By using this template, we were able to measure the size of each hexagon layers. Now moving on to the actual doing part. So we are starting by taking a 2 4x4 plywood sheets and are going to cut a couple of long pieces out of them. Out of the 10 layers, the bottom 4 layers are made of 5-inch wide pieces and top 6 of them are made of 3-inch wide pieces. We will cut the first 5-inch wide piece into 6 shorter pieces, each of 18-inch length, that will make the 6 sides of the hexagon. Also, just as a side note, these lengths correspond to the outer edges of each hexagon. We have marked each layer with a number at the bottom of each pieces so that it becomes easier to identify them later, and that way the pieces don't get mixed up. So this will be marked number 1, as this will be our bottommost layer. Next, we will cut one of the 5-inch wide piece into 6 smaller pieces, each of 16.25 inch length. Mark these pieces as number 2, which will represent our second layer of the hexagon. And so on and so forth. You can check the description box below for the rest of the measurements. But please remember to mark each pieces of the layer with its corresponding layer number so that they don't get mixed up in the process. Next, we will start joining the 6 pieces of each layer in an end-to-end manner by using some wood glue. Just grab all the pieces marked number 1 and start sticking them together. This will be our bottommost layer. Repeat the same step with the rest 9 layers. Remember to use a generous amount of wood glue while joining these pieces, as the end sides will have the end grains and they will soak up a lot of glue. So this is how all our 6 layers of the stand look separately once they have all been glued in. Now I'm going to stack these up on top of each other. Once they are all up and well adjusted with each other, I'm going to move each layer around just a tad bit so that we can get the shape that we drew in the beginning. Once I'm happy with the arrangement, I am marking all the edges with a pencil. This will help us in placing each layer correctly in our next gluing step. Now before I remove each layer and start gluing these layers on top of each other, I am randomly choosing one piece and making a mark so that when I am placing these layers on top of each other, not only will they be perfectly aligned, but will also be arranged at perfect angles with each other. So while making this spiraling shape of hexagon, we not only have to consider the proper alignment of the sides of each layer, but also how we are placing these layers. And this is where this marking will guide us. Now remove all the layers and we will start gluing these layers on top of each other. Spread some wood glue on top of all the 6 pieces of the bottommost layer, and once done, place the second layer from the bottom on top of it, keeping in mind the lines that you drew and the mark that you made. Make sure that the lines and the mark are completely aligned. Again, spread some glue on top of the second layer and place the third layer on top of the second layer, aligning the lines and the mark each time. Repeat these steps for 2 more layers. This is because we haven't glued all the 10 layers together, considering the fact that it might get difficult to move around with the stand, especially if you change houses or something. So what we did was, we glued these bottom 4 layers together as one unit and then glued the top 6 layers together as a separate unit, and in the end, we are going to screw these 2 units together. This will help you to take these 2 units apart in case you want to move the stand around or simply if it becomes too heavy to handle. Once all the bottom 4 layers have been glued on, I am clamping these layers together. Repeat the same steps with the top 6 layers too. Next, we are going to use an angle grinder with a 40 grit flap disc to remove those sharp edges of the layers so that we can give a more curved look to all the layers and blend them together. Once done with grinding, we are going to sand these layers to get a smoother finish. To give it a more finished look, we used a mini wax polyacrylic in ultra flat and gave a generous coating of it. We avoided using wood stain on this because we were not sure of how the end grains will absorb the stain and maybe it might look blotchy in the end. Now to join the tree to the stand, we are drilling a hole in these 3 pieces of wood and we are going to use these pronged T-nut anchor and some 5-inch long eye bolts. You can easily find them in your local hardware store. We connected these wood pieces with the bolts in them to the topmost layer of the stand. We also ended our Christmas tree stand by joining the 6 and the 4 units together with a screw. As I said before, this DIY Christmas tree stand may look intimidating, but honestly, it's all about the repetition of steps and minding the alignment of the layers. There is also no hard and fast rule for the alignment. If you don't want to stack the layers in the way how we did it, you can simply keep them on top of each other and it would look equally great. This is a reusable stand that you can use each year and is of course very sturdy. If you want, you can paint the stand too or just leave it in the natural wood color. The more you grind the edges of each layer, more you will get the end grain colors and smoother the whole structure will look. Let me know if you like this spiraling hexagonal Christmas tree stand. If you liked it, then please smash that like button, and if you got questions or any feedback, please leave them in the comment section below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe before you leave and turn on the notifications to get regular updates. Thank you so much for joining me. I will talk to you soon with another Christmas DIY. Till then, take care and stay safe.